Hello and welcome to It's Not That Bad, optimistic movie reviews for optimistic people. That's Simone LaRue.
And that's Chad Ekowitz.
Hey!
Look at us.
Look at us, week 2, 2019. Goals being reached. Magic's happening.
Going strong.
How excited are you that Tesla invented a jetpack that we are all now using? I'm speculating.
So excited.
I'm speculating for
right, because this is what's going to happen in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so excited about that. Now that I'm fabulously wealthy, I can really use the money on the jetpack on my next vacation.
Exactly.
I think that'll be great.
Just watch out for Godzilla babies.
Those little guys, they're so cute. Who cares if they crush a house?
It's not a big deal as long as it's not your house. I mean, what's the problem?
Yeah. And even then, I'm fabulously wealthy now. I'll just buy another one.
Week 2 of 2019 is going to be great. I'm so excited. Like, this is a scary period because if that happens within the next, 2 weeks since the recording of this, I mean, dreams.
There might not be a third episode of 2019.
What, because we've become clairvoyant geniuses that everyone is now looking to for advice?
That's how I become fabulously wealthy. I don't.
We can all, we all hope. We're all living that dream. We all are. Anyway, welcome to the podcast that teaches you about movies and how to be happy about them even when they're not that good. So let's just jump straight into it with Simone. What are you doing this week? What's on the list?
I am doing 2008's Frank Miller's Greatest Shame, The Spirit.
You're wrong. It's not his greatest shame. It's the best movie anyone has ever made, ever.
Oh.
And I will
is that a fact?
I will defend this film to my death.
Okay, that's great. That's what's always nice is we get a really balanced look at things on this podcast. You
know, this is why people come to us. It's because we are always unbiased. We are professional. We don't go on tangents, and that's why people keep coming back to us year after year.
We can say that now.
I, on the other side of things, will be doing Death at a Funeral, the American version, the 2010 theatrical genius that this film is. And I'm really excited. I actually really enjoyed this week. I don't know about you. They were just really pleasant films.
Yeah. The Spirit less so, but I really did enjoy Death at a Funeral and watching both of them. Yeah,
they are both really, it's surprising. I mean, I think the only reason, we'll get into it properly, but I think the only reason the American one is bad is because the British one was so good, but in its own right, it's really solid. Yeah. But anyway, before we discuss that, what are you drinking there?
You asked as I take a sip.
I know.
I'm having a Pinotage.
Lovely.
It's a Namakwa Pinotage. The South African listeners will know that Namakwa is a second cheapest wine variety. It's not absolute swell. It's good enough that you could bring it to a good friend's house, not a stranger's house, because then they judge you. But their Pinotage is surprisingly delightful. They've done a label redesign, so it looks real pretty.
Oh wow. That's very fancy. They've obviously sort of stepped up their marketing.
It's decent. And it comes in at a cool 14%.
Oh wow, not bad at all. I think the fact that it's not in a box is always a winner.
I'm past boxes now, mostly. Occasionally, if I'm drinking with my sister, we'll still buy a box wine, because she's a student, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm not box wining it anymore.
That's good. It's progression in life. At least you're much like the Jeffersons. You're moving on up, and you're getting that slice of the pie. So that's
you're so right. What are you drinking?
Today I have become a fancy man. I am a fancy man. I am drinking Baileys.
Oh, pardon me.
You're welcome. But I've because it's a very cold English day. In between Christmas and New Year's, I decided to warm it up, and I put coffee in it as well because I'm a sleepy baby. So It's a Bailey's coffee, and it's delicious. And what percentage is it? It's 17%, so it only just beats yours.
Oh, you win.
Just.
I feel like a Bailey's coffee is interesting because it's one of those drinks that really relies on context to be classy. Because like now you're having a Bailey's coffee, but it's like the period between Christmas and New Year's. Like everybody's kind of drinking all the time. It's like a festive drink. But if you have a Bailey's and coffee on like any normal day of the year before 4:00 in the afternoon, it's a little sad.
Yeah. Where that's a nighttime sleepy drink. It's not a sort of starting alcohol. So yeah, you're 100% right. I think it's only acceptable because of the period of the year it is. And I will reserve it for this time and go back to my delicious Malibu that I love ever so much.
God.
Awful. Well, I guess that means I start then with Death at a Funeral.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, especially because you and I are going to have a big fight about the spirit. So it's a good way to finish the podcast, I guess. Right, so...
It's the last episode of the podcast, actually.
For our listeners, I messaged when we were watching the movies this week, I messaged Simone and I said to her, this movie, I will watch The Spirit, and I said to her, this movie is my favourite movie of all time, and she just went, how fucking dare you? So you can kind of get the feeling. And then she didn't, I replied and I just said, haha, it's brilliant, and then she didn't reply. So you can kind of get the gist of where this is going.
Yeah.
She left me on red, people. She did.
I often do, and it's not because I'm a bad friend. I'm just, I have nothing to contribute, and I was very busy. So I was like, I don't have time to, like, contribute, like, think of something to contribute. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't take it personally. I completely get you. I mean, The only reason I do speak to you is because you're a girl, obviously.
Of course.
So that's just always the way. So yeah, let's get straight into it with this synopsis.
So, a reminder to our listeners, we're doing the American version of Death at a Funeral.
Yeah, so if you watch the English version because we didn't make it explicitly clear, and you're wondering why Tracy Morgan is in this film, it's because you watched the wrong version, and we do apologize, even though I kind of did make it really fucking clear.
I think we've been very clear, and we'll make it clear on social media as well.
Yeah, we'll I mean, watch both. Why not? They're both great films.
Yeah, they're both really fun.
Yeah. So, here we go. We join Aaron, played by Chris Rock, and Ryan, played by Martin Lawrence, on the day of their father's funeral. On top of being a trying time for the family, there are some tensions within the family that make the day even harder. Ryan lives in New York and is a famous writer, and is the favourite son of the family, which makes Aaron jealous and angry because he decided to stay at home to look after his mother, played by Loretta Devine. Aaron has also paid for the whole funeral on the agreement that Ryan would pay him back for the half of the funeral when he arrives. Turns out, Ryan is broke AF and will not be paying back the money. On top of that, Aaron and his wife Michelle, played by Regina Hall, are trying to have a baby but can't seem to get pregnant. This stressful endeavour is made worse by the fact that Aaron's mother doesn't like Michelle and keeps making little digs at her about the fact that she has no grandkids. We meet a host of other characters as well, all of whom have comedically complex relationships with one another. You have Oscar, played by James Marsden, and his girlfriend Elaine, played by the fantastic Zoe Saldana. Zoe's father... She's
one of your, like, Woman Crush Wednesdays, right?
Oh, she's absolutely perfect. She's just amazing.
She's beautiful, yeah.
Stunning, and just so clever and a brilliant actress, and I love her in everything she's done. Okay. Elaine's father...
I love you, Zoe!
Please come on the podcast. I love you. No, if she came on the podcast, you would be doing all of the talking and I would be staring at her.
You'd just be, like, crying for some reason.
Okay. No, sorry, I dozed off there. I wandered off into a land where me and Zoe are just, like, frolicking.
Don't look into her eyes. You'll get
They're
lost.
Too perfect. Right, so Elaine's father, played by Ron Glass, does not like Oscar and prefers her ex-boyfriend, played by Luke Wilson, who Zoe's father has invited to the funeral. The whole situation is exacerbated when Oscar unintentionally takes an extremely potent form of acid, which was taken from Zoe's brother's stash. Zoe's brother is played by Columbus Short. You also have Norman, played by Tracy Morgan, who is a hypochondriac and kind of a loser and the butt of everyone's jokes. You also have Frank, played by Peter Dinklage. And Frank turns out to be the deceased secret gay lover of the deceased father. He comes to the funeral to get what is owed to him. He tells the brothers that their dad promised to look after him, but he wasn't written into the will at all. So now he wants $30,000, or he will tell Aaron and Ryan's mother that her husband was gay. Ryan tells Aaron to pay Frank the money, and Aaron loses his shit. Endless hijinks begin. It ends up with Frank being bound, gagged, drugged, and stuffed into the coffin. Oscar is about to jump off the roof because he saw Zoe kissing her ex, even though he forced himself on her. And you have Norman covered in someone else's poop. The mother finds out that Frank was her husband's lover, and it falls into a big row. Aaron then gives a lovely impassioned speech about his father, and they all settle down and bury the father, and the movie ends, and it's all very happy. And it's, yeah, that's pretty much all that can be said to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really lovely, and without getting into too much of the hijinks, because I think that's what the film centers around, it just is a really lovely film.
Yeah, I found, I really thought I was gonna hate it compared to, like, the British one, which was perfect in every possible way, shape, or form. But this one, I feel like they really tried to stay true to the source material and just inject, like, nice American humor into it and bring, like, American charming characters into it. So, like, where you get these, like, stuttering British introverts, like 20 of them in a cast, you suddenly have people who are, like, not. Yeah. And it was cool. It was cool to see.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, because like you said, they did stay really true to the source material, and a lot of the lines were kind of almost directly
identical.
picked up. And it's just amazing sort of the difference between British humor and American humor, and how, British humor is severely based on sort of awkward, mumbly,
and just being
types.
really dry.
Yeah.
And kind of exasperated constantly.
Yeah. And Americans are just all about the hijinks and loud noises and sort of extroverted comedy. And it was just really nice to see a script that was able to adapt for both, and a really clever way of doing the film that it was adaptable. Yeah.
And the cast was really good. The casting was really, really good. They were all so funny. Mm-hmm. Fucking Tracy Morgan, I wouldn't have thought of him for that role straight away. Yeah. But, like, he was so good at it.
Yeah, like he kind of works it really well. And I mean, if you've seen the British version, the same character in the British version is a loser, but he's sort of really uppity of himself, where he has no reason to be. Where Tracy Morgan is just sort of this like, oh shucks, so kind of character, and he's just adorable. And like, I'm not a fan of Tracy Morgan except for 30 Rock, but in this he was just absolutely perfect. Actually, he worked the character very, very nicely. Can we talk about James Marsden really quickly? Oscar.
James Marsden, so it was like those were big shoes to fill, because it was Alan Tudyk playing that character in the original, and obviously he's hilarious. Yep. And James Marsden just brought his own thing to it, and when he starts singing "Amazing Grace" to the mom, I had to pause. I was crying.
It is the best scene of the film, in my opinion. It's just so well placed, and it's just because also the reactions from all the other actors are so. Yeah. It's so wonderful to watch. And then immediately he goes off and he's got the magnifying glass and he holds it up to his mouth, and it was just the double take there. It was just so funny. It was just such a brilliant combination, and he's really, really good in it. And like you said, big shoes with Alan Tudyk, because Alan Tudyk in the role is hilarious in itself. And it can, and I think that was the main worry in my mind, at least, is that when you play a high person, it's very easily can just devolve into sort of crass, okay, look at him, he's high humor. It's the same with drunk people. But the way both him and Alan Tudyk did it was so absolutely perfect. Just
like someone who's very clearly trying to ignore the visions that they're having and failing spectacularly.
Absolutely perfect. Just a really, really solid guy. I must say, though, I did get confused, and when I first watched the film, I thought, I said to myself, oh, look, it's Chris Pine. Because they do, in my mind, look really similar.
They look nothing alike.
They look incredibly similar.
I think what it is you get stuck with their, like, mesmerizing eyes. And you don't look at any of the other facial features. They could not be more different.
I disagree, and I will post. We will see this. I will put an Instagram on once the episode is dropped. I will put an Instagram of Chris Pine, and this guy, and we will see how similar they look, and we will take a vote, and I will be absolved and vindicated.
Or not.
But you are right. They do call me Chad for one-time Spelunker eye catcher Ekovitz. That's my full title.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, for now. But not as beautiful as Chris Pine's eyes. I really liked the fact that Peter Dinklage was in both films. That was cool.
Yeah, he was perfect both times. I mean...
He's just a superb actor. And what a role. I mean, these films must have just been so fun to do.
It must have been, especially the American one, because they had so many funny actors on set.
Yeah.
It must have just been, like, hysterical.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. I mean, you've got Donald Glover, who represents, like, the old school comedy. Donald Glover was the old man.
Are you sure it's Donald Glover and not a different Glover?
No, it was definitely... Or am I thinking of Danny Glover?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me today?
Because Donald Glover is the love of your life.
That's why he's always just in my mind. Yeah, it's Danny Glover. Okay, I apologize for that.
The two names do sound extremely similar, and you are always thinking about Childish Gambino.
There's not a moment in my life. I'm thinking about Chris Pine's eyes and Donald Glover, just as a general rule. He's perfect. But yes, sorry, Danny Glover is the uncle, and he represents, like, old comedy stylings, and then you've got, like, these new guys who are amazing. You've got Chris Rock. He's just delightful.
Yeah, I thought, because the main character is, like, a bit of a drip, to be honest. Like, he's just this boring dude who's, like, trying to make it work, and he has a very sweet wife. And I think he really injected a bit more life into the character.
Yeah, because the main guy in the British version, you kind of don't really consider him as a character, really. It's the brother and everyone else. Yeah,
stuff just happens to that guy.
Yeah, where Chris Rock is a very standout character here. He's very much in control of it.
Yeah,
which is really nice. I loved Martin Lawrence as well in this. Like, he plays the same character essentially every time he does a film, but he was just so lovely in this.
Yeah, no.
It was just perfect because it was like, okay, we're gonna make you this sort of intellectual writer, but you're gonna be playing the exact same character you did in Codename the Cleaner.
Hitting on some 18-year-old.
Those jokes.
And I know he does that also in the British version, but this is just so much more.
Yeah, they really push hard on that, don't they?
I liked it. I liked they added in the plotline that, like, Arthur's wife is also, like, ovulating.
Yeah.
So she's like, this needs to happen today. As, like, just a whole other level of stress.
Yeah, which is great as well, because Chris Rock is just like, damn, stop, I don't want to have sex. Like, it's the day of my dad's funeral.
She was so funny as well. Who played his wife?
That is Regina Hall.
Oh, she was amazing.
From Scary Movie fame, in my mind. Yeah, she's great in it, and I feel for her, and I feel for her in terms of empathizing with every woman who has the difficulty of dealing with mother-in-laws, because they be bitches.
The mother was so perfect. She just, like, I just loved her. I love the line, like, when she's offered tea in the British one and coffee in the American one.
Yes.
And she just goes, coffee can't bring someone back from the dead. Like, what do you do with that?
She's wonderful, and like when what's his face, James Marsden sings Amazing Grace to her, and she just politely stands there, and she doesn't know what to do, and he kisses her on the lips, and it's just like, whatever. Okay. Oh, she's great. And then at the end, when Peter Dinklage comes out of the coffin and drops the pictures, and she sees, and she pulls off someone else's weave and just starts beating him with it.
So basically, we have nothing bad to say about this movie.
No. Like I said at the top of the podcast, I think the only reason it's bad is because the British one is so perfect.
Yeah.
But as we clearly are saying here, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this film in its own right.
Yeah, it's a perfectly entertaining and, like, super fun movie. I ended up watching it by myself because, like, a lot of times when I watch stuff for the podcast, I don't want to force Rudy to watch too many bad movies with me. And, like, I kind of wished I'd watched it with him because it was so
he would love this.
Fun.
This was a movie he would enjoy.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say to everyone, if you've got the time, watch this and the British one. Just, like, have an afternoon of just death at a funeral because it's so worth it. I had two problems with this movie, however.
Tell me. Here we go.
But they were just,
we're getting into it.
They were technical issues. Well, the first one is a technical issue. Right. So, it is mentioned in this film that Chris Rock's character, Aaron, is only 9 months older than his brother, Martin Lawrence, Ryan. Mm-hmm. I have a very limited understanding of biology, but I thought this was not possible, Simone.
It is. So... You really shouldn't have sex right after you've had a baby. Recovery time is about 6 weeks, because you've just pushed a child out of yourself. But
that's what I thought.
You know, some people push that limit. It's your decision as a couple, and so maybe they did wait 6 weeks, and Ryan was born prematurely, and that could be an extra reason why the parents are very fond of him. Because, you know, it is hard having a premature baby and, like, worrying about them, and you want to make sure that they, like, don't grow up weird. So, so that could be an explanation.
I really enjoyed how much sort of layers you're giving this film and how much thought that you've put into it that I don't think, on the fly even, like, I know you haven't thought about this just in your own time, the amount of work that you've put into this film more than they have on that stupid line. Like, it was such a pointless line that they didn't really need to include, but they really emphasized that fact that he was only 9 months older than him, that they were born in the same year. Like, there was no point for that line, and it just really irked me.
Imagine squeezing out a baby and then immediately fucking just getting pregnant with the next one. I guess you want to get it done quick, you know?
Yeah, but there's, like, a limit between quick and German levels of precision and efficiency.
I mean, you know, if you're gonna have 2 kids, just bang it out in 18 months, and get on with your life.
20 months. That's all it is, 2 months. You can catch up on some TV.
I don't know. I think a lot of pregnant women will tell you that those 2 months are pretty fucking significant.
Oh, man. Okay, so yeah, that was my one issue with this film. And then my other issue, as a woman, as a human woman being person, do you love it when men like Danny Glover tell other men how women be?
Only if they're right. Which, I think the statement that women are smarter than you, but not as smart as they think, I think that applies to everyone. But probably...
Yeah, not exclusively
probably,
women.
if I'm being honest with myself, yeah.
It was just the bit where he was just like, women don't know what they want. What you need to do is grab her and kiss her.
No.
And I was like, no.
No, that's bad advice.
Don't do that thing. Why would you go to old men with your questions like this?
Don't go to anyone over the age of, like, 45 for romance advice. They come from a broken time where Harrison Ford was considered the height of romance, okay?
Yeah, it's a bad move. Like, I was explaining this to my mother the other day, and I was saying, you know that really famous picture at the end of the war in New York with that sailor and the nurse, and it's like in front of Times Square, and like he kisses her, and everyone's celebrating the end of the war. And like I was explaining, like everyone thinks that's a super romantic picture, but he like forced her to kiss him.
He just grabbed a random nurse and kissed her.
Yeah. Like, that's not romantic at all.
No.
And I mean, to be fair on the baby boomers, they are a fucking mess and they're a bad group of people. But they're not alone.
Is that you being fair on them?
No, wait, the fairness is coming. They're not alone. We have Twilight to blame as our sort of standard for romantic entanglements. The fact that, you know, we have to deal with, you know, men are monsters that prey on young flesh is a truth fact that needs to drastically change.
But it's sexy if he sneaks into your room and watches you sleep, Chad.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Jeffrey Dahmer did that.
I'm pretty sure Jeffrey Dahmer didn't. I think he was pretty efficient in his murders.
Fine, the Golden State Killer. We know for a fact he did that.
That's awful.
Sorry, it was a bit too far. I do apologize.
I mean, oh boy.
Look, we each got one. You got Warm Body's a warm body. I've got the GSK.
Comparing the GSK to Twilight, okay.
Look, I mean, both are fucking monstrous.
That's true. That's true.
What team are you on, by the way? Are you on team... I'm sure we've discussed this, but are you on team Edward or the other one?
Oh, Jacob? Neither. They were both really terrible options romantically, if you think about it.
Are you on team Anna Kendrick? Who's just kind of there.
Yeah. But back in the day when I was like way into Twilight, before I realized it was cool not to be, I was team Edward all the way. So
good. I'm glad we can be on the same basis there. I just liked his style of dress more.
You know, he was a cool looking guy. I am still not sure that Robert Pattinson was the right choice for the role. I'm pretty sure Robert Pattinson isn't even sure he was the right choice for the role.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? It was the time, it was fine, it worked, as it is. I mean, he drove a really cool Volvo. Right, so, I mean, I don't really have anything else to discuss on this. I mean, is there anything... Oh, that's one thing I wanted to say. I know we've already spoken about, like, how amazing this film is, but I just wanted to mention the color grading on this film, and it's a super nerdy thing. But the color grading on this film was fucking amazing. Like, you know, on like a film like this, you don't expect it to be like really vibrant colors or anything like that. But it was just really deep and sort of a really lush color scheme. And I was just really impressed. I needed to mention that. I know no one over... You are like, it is really green because
there.
You made it really green. Well done, guys. You really, pulled the buck out on this one. Well done. So yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to sort of add?
No. I'm good. Do you have a scene that could have saved it? Because, like, I think...
Yeah, I didn't... I mean, I did a kind of a cop-out scene. I said a scene explaining how the fuck the old man got up onto the roof at the end. Because he's in a wheelchair. But, I mean...
he couldn't get off the toilet
and now
earlier.
He's taken, like, a Valium or two. Valium in inverted quote.
Yeah.
In inverted commas. But, he's on the roof. And I mean, even in the first one, he's on the roof. In the English one, he's on the roof. But still, like, I don't get it. So I mean, apart from that, really huge cop-out film. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I mean, very, very swiftly, let's move on to bad film or bad director. This guy, Neil LaBute, is pretty cool. Now, I'm gonna list a bunch of films and things for you, and if you can tell me if you've seen any of these, I will give you $100 million.
Okay.
The Island, Oh, Squints 3, Black Chicks, 10K, The Mulberry Bush, Billy and Billy, Billions, Hell on Wheels, Dirty Weekend, 10 times 10, Some Velvet Morning, Stars in Shorts, BFF, How Far Would You Go for Love, Sexting, Death at a Funeral, doesn't count because we're watching it, Lakeview Terrace, Oh, Squints, The Wicker Man, The Shape...
Lakeview Terrace, what's that about?
Let's have a look. I'm really scared now because if I owe you $1 million... a troubled and racist African-American LAPD officer will stop at nothing to force out friendly interracial couple who just moved in next door to him.
Yes, I have seen Lakeview Terrace. It's got Samuel L. Jackson in
does.
it. Go fuck yourself.
Okay. So I owe you $100 million. Are you okay with that over 100 years?
Sure.
Cool. Okay.
That's still $1 million a year.
Shit. I didn't think this through. I'm gonna write you a check. If that's okay. It is gonna bounce.
Just gonna keep bouncing.
It's just gonna bounce, okay. So I'm gonna be starting a GoFundMe, for everyone listening. If you can contribute up to 100 million, that'd be pretty helpful right now. But yeah,
Lakeview Terrace was good though.
Was it a good film? Because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was pretty solid. Like, nothing to write home about, but it's Samuel L. Jackson being psychotic for like 2 hours, and
which is a dream. Good. I mean, can he do anything else really? So yeah, I would say he's a good director, but that wasn't the reason I was going to go for, because I haven't actually seen any of those films. He wrote some episodes of Van Helsing, the TV show, which I super got into. I thought it was a really, really good TV show.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, everything in this movie was kind of perfect in terms of directing. It was really, really solid. None of the characters were one-dimensional or even two-dimensional. They were all really, really solid. And so I would say he's a good director, and this is a good film. This is a really, really lovely, chill film that you can really get into. So yeah.
Yeah.
Neil LaBute, well done. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Well, I'm sad that I've come out the other end of this with 100 million in debt, but I'm happy that we did this film.
Me too. I am glad that I watched it.
It is lovely, especially with how we felt before we watched this film. We were both very unkeen on watching this film.
I was really dreading it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do yours now. I'm so excited to fight you.
Oh, boy. Okay. The Spirit. I don't even... Okay. I'm just gonna do my fucking best. Okay. The Spirit follows the Spirit, played by Suits' Gabriel Macht.
Woo!
Gabriel Macht. Who says Gabriel?
You do.
I think, yeah. He is a rookie cop who was shot and is now reincarnated. He loves the city that he lives in, above a central city, above everything else, and he has sworn to be its protector, its spirit. So,
don't make fun of it. You're being mean.
I'm sorry. It makes fun of itself. And because he died and is brought back to life, he has been avoiding death. Death takes a form in Lorelei, played by Jamie King, and basically just kind of occasionally flashes on screen whenever he's close to dying. That's all you really need to know about that. Then, his arch nemesis is Octopus, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and his cool sidekick, Silk and Floss, played by Scarlett Johansson, and their fun henchmen. Okay. So.
I mean, you're doing really well for a plot that doesn't exist. You're doing extremely well.
Yeah, you know. Oh, the henchmen are played by Louis Lombardi. They're pretty fun.
They're lovely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the plot follows the Spirit as he tries to solve the mystery of what's happening in the city. Basically, all the bad guys, including Sans Serif, played by Eva Mendes, are trying to get a hold of the blood of Heracles, or Hercules, as we'd call it. Heracles. I really can't pronounce stuff today.
You're doing well. I'm proud of you. This movie makes no sense, so you're doing really good.
It makes absolutely no sense. The idea being that if you drink the blood of Heracles, then you get to be immortal forever, as opposed to what the Spirit and Octopus have now, which is just like being immortal for a limited amount of time, as far as they know.
Yeah,
they don't have any evidence otherwise. At the beginning, it's kind of weird, because the Spirit is like trying to figure out who he is, but then he quickly remembers when he finds a locket in a dead cop's hand. He thinks that the cop was killed by Sans Serif, Eva Mendes, and when he sees the locket, he realizes that Sans Serif is his childhood friend Sam, who they were in love, and then a loved one was killed by a cop, so she decided she hates cops, and she's become like this Black Widow type character where she's gotten really rich, marrying rich men, and then kills them. Yeah. And she also wants the Jason's Golden Fleece and the blood of Heracles to round out her collection. At the same time, while he's busy solving this, we see Sarah Paulson playing Ellen, a doctor who's super in love with the Spirit, but knows that he'll never love her back, not really. Then there's Stana Katic playing Morgenstern, a young plucky police officer who is gonna make detective any day now. And basically the whole thing culminates in a big showdown with all the characters I just mentioned there. The Spirit ends up blowing up the octopus. Scarlett Johansson gets away. It's implied that the octopus will regenerate over time. The Spirit shares one last kiss with Sans Serif, and then they agree that they'll probably never see each other again, so that was kind of pointless. And he just is going to keep protecting that city.
Best.
I know it should sound like there was more of a middle to that story, but there truly isn't.
Best film ever. Best film ever.
Explain yourself.
Perfect film. Nothing better. It makes fun of itself. It's a proper old school cowboy film that's just like, I love the city. I talk in a gravelly voice, and the broads are really hot on me, and I'm gonna protect the city and everything's dark and I'm deep and mysterious and everything's, it's great. It's proper old school, it's amazing.
But it's not. It came out in 2008.
Yes, but that's the point. It's making fun of itself.
Sin City was proper old school.
You see, I enjoyed this more than Sin City.
How dare you?
I thought this was so much better.
Dare you?
I really enjoyed this. I hated everything with Samuel L. Jackson in it, and that was just purely because he realized how you could see he knew how dumb this film was.
Yeah.
But it was just, it's funny, it's magical, it's all done with green screen, so it looks ridiculous, and it's just I would say the best way to describe this film is the moment when you enter a sugar high, where nothing makes sense, all the rules are thrown out the window, and it's just a good romp for an hour and a half, and then afterwards, after you've come down from the sugar high, you feel ill. And that's what this film is. It's a sugar high of a film. There's bright colours, it's shot very dramatically, everything about it is very dramatic, the acting is fantastic in itself because they know it's terrible. Perfect film. Perfect. What did you hate about it then?
I mean, everything. Okay, because the thing is, you're like, oh, it's fun. But what about this movie was actually good? Certainly not the script writing. Certainly not the plot. Definitely not the characters. It's
very much, and I'm using a lot of analogies here to describe this film because you can't actually relate to the film itself. You have to do it by analogy because that's just, the film is very non-existent in its own right. But this film is very much like, what's her name's face? Who's, in Ocean's 11, Danny Ocean's wife, Pretty Woman.
Julia Roberts?
Julia Roberts. So this movie is like Julia Roberts. Okay.
Be careful.
I'm being very, very careful. Her constituent parts of her face, individually, are not very attractive parts of her face, but altogether, she is an incredibly beautiful woman.
Huh.
If you took her nose by itself, it would not be an attractive nose. If you took her eyes by themselves, they would not be an attractive eyes. But together, she is very attractive. This film, the dialogue isn't good. The acting isn't good. The visuals aren't great. But altogether, it's fantastic.
I think the most charitable I can be is saying that it's clearly, well, I hope, that it's Frank Miller just kind of making fun of himself a little bit.
He probably got commissioned to do it and was just like, okay, well...
No, somebody approached him. Somebody, approached him and was like, I want you to do this, adaptation, because it's adapted from comic books.
Yeah.
I want you to do this adaptation. Your style would be perfect for it. And he was like, yeah, it would be totally perfect for it. So, I read the trivia, and nowhere does it talk about, he decided it would be a fun chance to make fun of his own films or anything like that.
Well, I think, it's I've never known that this was a comic book until I watched this film, and I was like, oh, so, it's never going to do particularly well because... B character comic books just don't do well in themselves, really.
But Watchmen did really well, and that was based off a comic book. Yeah.
Did it do really well?
Yes, it did. So did 300, which was also based off a comic book.
I'll give you 300. I won't give you... I'm a bit skeptical about Watchmen, but it's just... I think it's a lovely film in itself because it's just a stupid romp. And literally, it's like watching any old cowboy movie. It's pointless, it's ridiculous, but it's just fun to watch.
But the thing is, you can have stuff that's ridiculous and pointless and fun to watch, and then also have characters that are good.
Slightly believable.
Yeah. Or because they had a lot of, the cast was really good, and they just didn't have to do anything. Really?
Yeah, I think especially Samuel L. Jackson and Scarlett Johansson were incredibly wasted in this film.
Yeah. They both did the best that they could with the script they were given. I think probably the scenes of Sarah Paulson were the only good ones, really.
Yeah.
Or the only emotionally interesting ones, where because the Spirit also is such a non-character.
Yeah, he's very white bread.
Yeah, it's
and I'm usually not a fan of white bread superheroes, but...
Yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing at him talking about the city and how the city provides for him. It was just so perfect.
I mean, I was just groaning.
Look, clearly you haven't fallen down the rabbit hole of insanity, and you still appreciate what a good movie is in comparison to a bad
maybe
movie.
I was too tired when I started watching the movie.
We've both spoken about how we've sort of become unable to distinguish a good film from a bad film, and I think maybe I've gone too far and you haven't.
It's good to know one of us is still clinging on.
It's good. You're the grounding force for this shit show lightning storm. So is there anything good you can say about this film? Please.
Look, I think conceptually, I liked some of the interactions between the different characters. Like I mentioned, Sarah Paulson's character was probably one of the few good ones. I also weirdly enjoyed the interaction at the very end between Sans Serif and Silk Floss, where she's like, what are you doing with this dude? And she's like, it's fun and it's a great way to pay off my PhD. And it was just a weird conversation that I super enjoyed because they're not being catty or bitchy to each other. She was just what's the deal? While we've got our guns pointed at each other, and they're both dealing with dumb henchmen, and it was just a weird bonding moment, and I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and the fact that Sans Serif gave her some advice and was like, get out of here.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. I mean, it sets up really well for a sequel, and I know it won't, but maybe one day we'll make the sequel.
I believe Gabriel Macht's career has gotten a little better since then. What's the show that he's in? Jackets.
How dare you? How dare you?
Waistcoats. Lawyers. Briefcase.
I would watch a show called Lawyers, to be fair.
It is what it is,
We're not going to beat around the bush. It's Lawyers.
But the catch is there's only one lawyer in it.
And he's just sitting around shuffling papers and just writing things he's really boring.
And being but where's the precedent? That's the only law phrase I know.
He just pulls out, it's time to go to the library.
I've got to go look up some cases.
But how dare you, it's called Suits.
Is Suits doing well? Is it successful? Is it...
Look, it did well for 3 seasons.
It's still going,
and
isn't
then
it?
It fell to shit, and it's still going, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's still going.
I mean, now that Megan's busy.
Exactly. There's no point, really. I mean, how awkward must that be? Your career's going really well, you're Gabriel Macht, your career's going well, you're the hottest man in the world, everyone loves you, and then one of your co-stars goes and gets married to royalty.
How do you top it? How do you top it?
There's nothing he can do. But the thing is, right, he's actually a model. He wasn't actually an actor. And then he moved into acting. And it's surprising that he got picked up for anything else after The Spirit. It's very surprising.
I mean, have you seen him, though?
He is gorgeous. There's no question. His jawline can cut glass.
He just has a very, he's got a young George Clooney-esque feel to him.
Yeah, he does. Wow. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
To be fair, talking about lookalikes and things like that, excellent segue. The young cop who is gonna make detective any day now.
Yeah.
The first shot you see her of is her sideways, and I thought it was you.
Imagine.
I was like, is this why Simone chose this film? Because she's actually in it?
It's my greatest shame. No, interestingly though, that cop, that's also the main detective in Castle.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little funny that they keep being oh, you'll make detective any day now, because then she goes on to play a detective.
That's so nice. Ah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, tell me then, what scene could have saved it for you? Because I feel from your point of view, it's kind of a giant shit show.
Here's the thing. The reason that we hate origin stories now is because, we know the characters, right? We know where the fuck Batman... If I see another scene of John and Martha being shot in an alleyway, I will lose it. Okay? I get it. We know where Batman came from. We know where Superman came from. There was the crater. The thing is, nobody knows anything about the Spirit. I don't know any of these characters. I don't care about any of them. I have no context for them. So I just want a little bit of an origin story background before I leap into this character that I don't care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, I know that's, like, what you're supposed to do in good writing is you actually kind of start the story in the middle, or, like, start where the action is. But it just didn't work here. Like, you were right in the middle and you were like, wait, but what's happening? But, like, why is he really cool with being shot? Why is the cat following him around? I'm not against it. I love a movie that features cats being loyal, but I just don't understand it.
I don't know what publishing house he's even from. Is the Spirit? Is he DC, Vertigo, Marvel?
No idea.
You know, one of the other ones? Because I would love to see a crossover between him and Catwoman, and they're just like, the cats are like hanging out, and it's like the Spirit goes over to like Catwoman's lair and it's like, Sprinkles, come here. Oh, hello.
Look at you. Or like they meet as their like alter egos in like a cat food, buy cat food or something, or like fighting over the last bag of cat food.
That would be so good. I would watch the crap out of that.
That would be like such a meet cute.
It would be so great. Can you imagine their two styles of movie combining, like 1,000 shots per second plus green screen? Superb work.
It would give you an epileptic seizure.
I think
to be honest,
you would die of a brain hemorrhage. There'd be no question.
And also it has to be Halle Berry.
Yes, no, I refuse anyone. No one else is Catwoman now.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, no, I refuse. Even when what's her face, Annie, what's her name?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. Even when Anne Hathaway did it, I was like, no, it's Halle Berry. You don't count.
It's always been Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm sorry. Leave me. I'll fight anyone. Michelle Pfeiffer was one of the best Catwomen.
Look, we'll agree to disagree. You know, this is the last episode of this podcast, so we don't have to ever speak again after this. It's fine. Well, as you can probably guess, I don't have a scene that could have saved it because this movie was perfect. And I'm not just saying that because I wanted to be funny or anything. I'm saying that because I genuinely couldn't think of a single thing that could save this film because it is amazing.
Good.
So, we'll leave it there.
Okay, well then, let's just slide right into talking about Frank Miller. So, as you guys know, Frank Miller is not really much of a director. He's much more of a writer and artist, and we know he's a really good artist and writer because he came up with like the visual effects that we see in Sin City and 300, and it's really fucking good. Yeah. But I don't think he should direct on his own.
Ooh, okay.
And here's why. When he writes, he has written, so obviously all of the Sin City stuff. He wrote 300, the graphic novel.
Oh, really?
He wrote Sin City, the graphic novel. So he's a really good writer. Like, he gets characters, but I think he's only a good director if he's directing his own stuff.
Okay, yeah.
The Spirit is not his source material. It's someone else's entirely, and I think he just didn't know how to handle it. He was like, I'm just gonna do what I did with Sin City, and it didn't work.
No. Well, it did, but yes, no. I get you, because obviously it didn't get a highly critical acclaim. Do you know how much it got on Rotten Tomatoes?
I will tell you now. Oh.
What did it get?
14.
Ooh, that's
Yeah, it did poorly.
It's a really kind way of putting it. Wow. Okay, yeah. So it clearly didn't do very well. Yeah. You do get those directors, like you said, who need to stick to their own stuff because no one else can do it. And should only do their own stuff.
Unfortunately. But I think he's I don't think he's bad at what he does. I think he's a very talented person. He should just maybe direct his own books and graphic novels.
That seems fair. Do you think this film would have worked as anything but green screen?
Oh. I mean, it's such a specific style.
Yeah.
And I think they focused so much on that they didn't focus on what they should have done, which was, like, the actual story and characters. So I wonder if maybe they'd done that instead, if it wouldn't have ended up being a better movie instead of relying on, like, all the same shit that we got from Sin City.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because it was just a kind of a carbon copy of Sin City, but better.
Yeah, well.
Look, I still love you. You're still my best friend. There's no question about it.
Oh, I'm just worried about you.
I'm in a dark place. Maybe that explains it.
I think you need to watch better movies.
Gremlins 3 is coming out, so we're good.
Great.
You. So well done. That was a tough movie to do. You really you set yourself a challenge this week.
I don't know why I keep picking movies with, like, the least cohesive plot, or movies with just all the plots.
Yeah, you really set yourself up up well for someone who doesn't usually write plot synopses.
Yeah, and maybe I should just write plot synopses. The problem is that I'm usually watching these movies about 10 minutes before we record.
I would love to find out in like 2 years' time that you don't actually watch the movie and you're just like on IMDb, like you've never seen any of these films and you're just doing it through.
Can you imagine?
It would be superb work. I would be really impressed. I wouldn't even be mad.
I just watched the trailer and like
just spend like 20 minutes on Wikipedia trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
It would be great. I would be very, very impressed. The fact that you've dirt roaded me this whole time, I wouldn't even be mad. We would continue on that basis. It would be superb.
And Simone watches none of the movies.
Oh man. Well, there you have it. So, I mean, final segment point of
yes.
the day. So, what do you think we'll podcast this week?
I'm not following the rules of this podcast at all. I just talk about stuff I'm excited about.
Should we just change this last segment again? Because this clearly isn't working for you. So we'll name this "What Are We Excited About?"
It can be "What Does Chad Thinkle podcast?" and "What is Simone excited about?" Because you follow the rules.
I think that's fair. We'll increase the name. What is Simone excited about, and what does Chad Thinkle podcast? Great.
It really rolls right off the tongue.
So, what are you excited about then, Simone?
I just saw the trailer for Jordan Peele's new movie, Us, and I made you watch it, and it looks fucking insane. I'm so excited.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be super good.
If I could watch Get Out again for the first time, I would.
Yes.
Because it was just incredible, and I feel like Us is just going to go to the next level.
It's just, from the trailer alone, you just know it's going to be real. I mean, there's a little bit of comedy in there.
Goosebumps.
Oh man, it's so good. Like, he is producing incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I feel
I'm so, proud of him.
Yeah, I feel like Us is what the Strangers should have been. From the trailer.
I enjoyed The Strangers.
It was okay. I just thought it was just like, the trailer looked really good, and then the movie was just like
the end is a bit of a letdown.
Yeah. Liv Taylor is amazing, but yeah, I think this is going to be the version that I wanted from The Strangers, and I think it's going to be superb. We'll link to the trailer as well because it's just like everyone should know this movie is coming out. I'm so excited. My parents haven't seen Get Out, and as soon as I find my copy of Get Out, we're going to watch it because. Oh my god, my parents are old white people, so they won't appreciate it, but it's still fucking amazing.
It's really fun if you watch it with older white people because they don't realize they're being made fun of.
Yeah. That's great. So we can just sit down and mock them without them realizing.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's also me as a fairly liberal white person who probably still does microaggressions also being made fun of, but
I mean, I would have voted for Obama for a third term, but
and you tell every black person you meet.
Every black I live in the UK. It doesn't matter. Why are you telling people? Well, I abided by the rules because I believe in the structure and foundations of this podcast. And
such as they are.
Such as they are. In tangents we trust. So I've decided that Doom Patrol will podcast. I believe it's a new Netflix show / Amazon show. I don't care. I'm not going to watch it. It looks terrible. It's, I believe it's a DC team spin-off. So there are 5 characters, and I think Deadshot is one of them. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, okay.
I don't care. And it just, I mean, I'm hoping, I still haven't seen Aquaman, but I'm hoping it will be the one film that absolves us from the slew of upsetting films that have come through, except for Wonder Woman, of course.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Aquaman.
One of my friends saw it and she said it wasn't amazing, but Mama was a piece of eye candy that everyone needed. So, but yeah, I think Doom Patrol, the trailer looks very meh. They're trying to be funny, and as always, DC misses the boat with comedy. I think they've got a really bad set of writers who don't know how to write funny things.
You know what it is, though? I think there are, like, all these really old producers up at the top there who, like, they hire these amazing writers and then don't let them do anything. Yeah. You know, they're just like, oh, I think it'll be funnier if this happens. And the writers are like, no, it won't. And they're like, what do you know? I have money. So I don't want to shit on the writers. They're probably doing their best.
Yeah, they're I'm pretty sure, like with Suicide Squad, as we've discussed, they're incredibly hamstrung. But look, I mean, good luck. I will try and watch some of it. I'm not a huge fan of, you know, comic book series. I exclusively stay to the movies, but I'll try my best. I mean, you've got to. So yeah, Doom Patrol. I reckon that's gonna podcast.
I'm always waiting for like 6 weeks down the line when it's like, oh, and smash hit, Doom Patrol is out.
Look, it would be great if we're wrong and we can sort of...
Yeah, that's
It would be great if we were able to anti-predict what will do well. So we say Doom Patrol and it does really well, and then eventually studios will come to us and they'll pay us a lot of money to say their film on the Will It podcast so that it will do well, and then eventually I can pay you off. I can pay off my incredible debt to you.
Over 1 million years.
Over 1 million years. Well, there you go. Well done, us.
Yeah, look at us. We've done it again. Shall we tell the people what we're gonna do next week, Chad?
So, what are you doing?
So, we want to do the Twilight franchise, everyone, Woo-hoo. But we don't want to watch all 5 movies because we don't have the time nor the inclination.
No. So, which one of the 5 are you doing?
So, I will be doing the last Twilight movie, which I believe is Breaking Dawn Part 2.
It's the best one.
Good God.
And while you're doing the last one, I will be doing the very, very first one. You know, sort of a juxtaposition of where we started and where we end. And we've decided, 2019 is the year to do it in. Week 3.
We're starting off real strong.
Real strong.
And just going downhill.
One could say we're going down in another round. And sugar, we're going down swinging. Be another...
I like that you're bringing back the references from when Twilight first came out.
To be fair, and I'm willing to admit this, I exclusively listen to music from our early childhood. So you're talking Fall Out Boy, early Panic at the Disco, early Paramore.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I live.
Those are all bangers. I'll stand by that.
I don't really listen to new music unless it's by Childish Gambino. The only Gambino that matters. The only Glover that matters.
I haven't really, I listen to too many podcasts. I don't have time to find music as well.
It's exhausting, and I mean, we know what we like. Can you imagine when we become parents eventually, and how fucked our children's music tastes are going to be from our early listenings?
Well, my dad exclusively listened to 80s music the whole time I was growing up, and I turned out okay.
You did. Well, there you go, Simone, and there you go, people who listen to this podcast, all 2 of you. So, thank you for listening. Where can the people find you, Simone?
The people can find me on Instagram at simone.ellie.raux. They can read my articles at Forge and Flint. They can find the podcast on Facebook and Twitter at It's Not That Bad 1, on Instagram at It's Not That Bad Podcast, and they can email us at itsnotthatbadpodcast@gmail.com.
Whoop whoop. So do those things, write into us, tell us what movies you've been watching this this holiday period. Tell us what you think's gonna podcast. What do you think we're gonna be reviewing? And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at chatspeed1993, so that's CHADSBY 1993. You can also find me at Forge and Flint for all of my articles as well as some amazing short stories and poetry too. Tell your parents, tell your kids, tell your dead Asian relatives, and that's a reference specifically to Death at a Funeral, the American version. Tell your Aquaman, tell your Spider Universes, and as we say at the end of every episode,
we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bye.